Imagine a man standing on the edge of a quiet lake. His reflection ripples with every anxious breath he takes. The more he tries to still the water with his hands, the more it trembles beneath his touch. Frustrated, he presses harder, as if sheer will could force stillness into being. But the lake only grows more chaotic, mocking him with every ripple. This is the human condition, the desperate attempt to control life, to still its unpredictable waves, becomes the very act that disturbs it. We cling to our plans, our expectations, our desires, believing that mastery over circumstance equals peace. Yet the more we tighten our grip, the more life slips through our fingers. We live like anxious puppeteers, strings we barely understand, terrified of what might happen if we let them go. But what if the strings were never ours to hold? Alan Watts once said, "The more we try to control the world, the less sense it makes." His words echo through the modern psyche, a world obsessed with productivity, optimization, and self-mastery. We are taught from childhood that discipline equals freedom, that control is power, and that surrender is weakness. But Watts turned this notion upside down. He suggested that true freedom is not found in control, but in the graceful art of letting go. Letting go, a phrase so simple, yet so threatening to the mind that has built its identity upon control. To let go means to release the illusion of authority over what was never truly yours, to stop fighting the tide of existence and allow it to carry you. But the ego fears dissolution. It fears that without control, there will be chaos. Without structure, there will be collapse. And so, we keep building walls to protect ourselves, walls made of plans, goals, beliefs, and habits. We mistake the fortress for safety, not realizing that we've sealed ourselves inside it. Control gives us the comforting illusion that we are steering the ship of life. Yet beneath that illusion lies a deep anxiety, the suspicion that no one is really steering at all. Watts called this the cosmic joke, that the harder we try to separate ourselves from the flow of existence, the more entangled we become in it. We are like rivers trying to dictate their own course, forgetting that the current has already been set by the shape of the land. We spend our lives fighting the bends, the turns, the rapids, all the while missing the simple beauty of being carried. The paradox is clear. To feel in control, we must let go of control. To find peace, we must surrender the search for it. To become free, we must cease trying to be free. It's a truth that shatters the modern illusion of self-mastery. The mind revolts against it, for the mind is the architect of control. It thrives on strategy, manipulation, and foresight. To surrender, therefore, feels like death to the thinking self. But what if that death is precisely what gives birth to something greater? A consciousness not bound by the anxieties of control, but liberated by trust in the unfolding of life itself. Watts often spoke of this surrender as the dance of life. He said that life is not a problem to be solved, but a song to be sung, a dance to be danced. Yet we treat it like a chessboard, every move calculated, every risk managed. We forget that the beauty of a dance lies not in control, but in rhythm, in the effortless harmony between movement and music. As the man by the lake finally lets his hands fall away, the water begins to calm on its own. The reflection returns, soft, clear, unbroken. He realizes that peace was never achieved by effort, but revealed through stillness. The same holds true for the mind. There is a kind of intelligence in surrender, a wisdom that arises not from the planning of the mind, but from the flow of life itself. When we stop trying to make life obey our designs, we begin to see that it was always moving toward balance. And so, the question emerges like a whisper from the depths of silence. If letting go is the key to freedom, why are we so afraid to release the lock? Somewhere between the hum of fluorescent lights and the constant vibration of notifications, we began to believe that life must be managed, optimized, planned, and conquered. We live in a civilization that worships control. We measure our worth in productivity, our peace in efficiency, our happiness in metrics and milestones. The modern world, in its obsession with mastery, has turned existence into a performance. We track our sleep, our steps, our calories, our progress toward goals. all in a desperate attempt to impose order on something inherently fluid. The digital age, rather than liberating us, has become the ultimate mirror of the mind's anxiety. Algorithms predict our desires before we can feel them. Apps remind us when to breathe, when to meditate, when to pause. Even stillness has become something to schedule. This is not control. This is captivity disguised as order. We are no longer living. We are managing life, an endless to-do list where the soul slowly vanishes beneath spreadsheets and strategies. Alan Watts saw this long before our age of data and devices. He spoke of the West's tragic fixation on control as a form of existential insecurity, the endless need to manipulate reality because we no longer trust it. Faith, he said, is a state of openness or trust in the unknown, but modern man fears the unknown. He would rather choke on certainty than breathe in mystery. It is the same paradox that plays out in love, in creativity, in every genuine act of living. When you try to control love, it dies. When you force creativity, it vanishes. When you plan happiness, it slips away like water through your fingers. We control not because we are powerful, but because we are afraid. Afraid that life, left to its own devices, will betray us. Afraid that if we stop steering, we will crash. But the truth is closer to what Carl Jung once wrote. What you resist, persists. What you accept, transforms. The energy we pour into control becomes the very force that enslaves us. The mind resists uncertainty so violently that it misses the subtle grace hidden within it, the possibility that life knows what it's doing. The paradox of control is not just philosophical, it's deeply psychological. The more we cling to control, the more fragmented we become inside. Anxiety, burnout, and perfectionism are not signs of weakness. They are symptoms of our addiction to control. We try to control the uncontrollable: time, death, the emotions of others, the chaos of the world, and in doing so, we create a private hell of perpetual vigilance. There is no rest in the house of control. Every door locks from the inside. We say we want peace, but we are unwilling to let go of the very mechanisms that destroy it. We say we want flow, but we insist on being the ones who direct it. We want the ocean, but we refuse to get wet. What's compared life to water, soft, yielding, yet unstoppable. Try to grasp it, and it slips away. But allow it to flow through your open hands, and it nourishes you. The irony is cruel and beautiful. The power we seek through control is already inherent in surrender. But control is seductive. It gives us the illusion of safety, promises predictability in a world that trembles with change. And so, we cling to our blueprints, our plans, our 5-year visions, not realizing that we are suffocating under the weight of our own expectations. Somewhere deep inside, we sense it, the futility of trying to manage the infinite. We sense it in the quiet hours when the phone is off and the noise has died. The silence feels unbearable because it exposes the truth, that all our systems, strategies, and self-help mantras were fragile scaffolding, built to protect us from the vastness of life itself. In that silence, we begin to glimpse what's meant when he said, "You do not control your heartbeat, the flow of your blood, or the movement of the stars, and yet it all happens perfectly." Control, it turns out, was never required. The dance was already underway. And yet, letting go is not so easy. The mind clings even to its suffering, for it would rather be miserable and certain than peaceful and uncertain. We fear that surrender will erase us, that if we stop trying to control life, life will cease to care for us. But what if the opposite is true? What if control is the real death, the slow, suffocating death of spontaneity, of wonder, of the mystery that makes life worth living? What if to surrender is not to fall apart, but to finally fall into place? The machinery of control hums louder than ever, in our minds, our devices, our culture. Yet beneath that noise, a quiet intuition remains, whispering, there must be another way to live, a way not built on the tyranny of the will, but on the trust of being. There comes a point in every life when the scaffolding begins to shake. The things we built to hold us up, our identities, ambitions, and plans, start to crumble beneath the weight of their own rigidity. It may arrive as a quiet breakdown or a storm that tears everything apart. A failure, a loss, a heartbreak. Suddenly, the illusion of control fractures, and for a brief, terrifying instant, we are face to face with the truth we've spent our lives avoiding. We were never truly in charge. It's in these moments that surrender begins, not as a choice, but as a necessity. The mind, exhausted by its own resistance, collapses into the mystery it once feared. And in that collapse, something extraordinary happens. What's described this moment as the great letting go, the recognition that the self we've been protecting is not a fixed entity but a movement, a process, a ripple in the vast ocean of existence. What we call I is not a commander of life but a participant in it, like a wave believing it controls the sea. For most, this realization arrives with discomfort, even panic. The ego cries out, "If I let go, who will I become? Who will steer me? What will happen to everything I've built?" But the truth is gentler and infinitely more mysterious. When we finally release our desperate grip on control, we discover that life doesn't fall apart. It falls into harmony. It's like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. The body remembers what it means to be natural, spontaneous, alive. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." Watts would have smiled at that. He wasn't asking us to reject action or discipline. He was asking us to act without illusion, to play the game of life with awareness that the dice are not entirely ours to throw, and that the beauty of the game lies in its unpredictability. This is the heart of the paradox. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means shifting from control to participation, from domination to dialogue with life. When a musician plays, they do not control the music, they merge with it. The melody flows through them, and the boundaries between self and sound dissolve. That is the kind of freedom Watts spoke of, not a freedom from the world, but a freedom with it. In surrender, action becomes effortless. Decisions unfold naturally. Creativity blossoms without force. Even pain becomes a form of participation, an expression of the same mysterious rhythm. The struggle to make life obey your will transforms into the art of moving in step with it. And yet, surrender cannot be faked. It is not a technique. You cannot try to let go. That very effort is another form of control. You cannot plan spontaneity or strategize trust. Letting go happens the way sleep happens, not by command but by release. This is why so many spiritual traditions use metaphors of falling. The falling leaf, the falling drop of rain, the falling in love. To fall is to stop resisting gravity. To surrender is to stop resisting life. Watts often compared it to floating on water. You only sink when you try to stand on it. Relax and you'll float. It sounds simple, even childish, but that's precisely the point. The great secret of wisdom is not complexity. It is innocence rediscovered. To surrender is to return to that state of innocence, where life is no longer something to be conquered but something to be experienced. The child does not think about controlling the wind. They run with it, laugh in it, feel it. That, Watts said, is enlightenment in its most natural form. Not an escape from reality, but an intimacy with it so profound that the boundaries between self and world disappear. But this awakening is rarely gentle. The old self dies screaming. The identity built on control feels itself dissolving into something infinite, and the mind cannot comprehend infinity without trembling. You will feel disoriented, vulnerable, exposed. The familiar armor, your plans, your beliefs, your strategies, begins to feel heavy, unnecessary. And as each layer falls away, you may feel a strange emptiness. But that emptiness is not a void, it is space. The space where life begins to breathe again through you. You start to notice it in small ways. The way time softens when you stop rushing, the way clarity arises when you stop forcing solutions, the way love expands when you stop trying to define it. You begin to realize that control was never strength, it was tension. And that tension, for all its structure, was quietly suffocating the soul. In the stillness that follows surrender, something ancient stirs, a quiet intelligence older than thought itself. It's as if the universe, finally trusted, begins to reveal its hidden grace. And you, who once stood trembling by the lake, trying to still the water, now find yourself floating upon it. Not as a conqueror, but as part of the current. When the walls of control finally fall, the world looks different. Not because the world itself has changed, but because the one seeing it has. What once appeared chaotic now glimmers with hidden rhythm. What once seemed threatening now hums with strange intelligence. In the quiet aftermath of surrender, life reveals itself not as a series of obstacles to be overcome, but as a vast and living tapestry, intricate, fluid, and whole. This is what Alan Watts meant when he said that life is a dance, not a march. A march demands structure, discipline, precision, every step measured, every motion accounted for. But a dance invites something deeper, trust. In a dance, there is movement, yes, but also listening, a conversation between the dancer and the music, between effort and grace. For most of us, control has deafened us to this music. We live so loudly in our minds that we can no longer hear the quiet rhythm that pulses through all things. But when the noise subsides, when we stop imposing our tempo upon the world, we begin to move again in harmony with what's called the Tao, the way of things. In this state, surrender does not feel like passivity. It feels like alignment. You no longer force your way through life. You are carried by it, like a leaf dancing in the wind. And paradoxically, your actions, once frantic and strained, become more precise, more graceful, more effective. The difference is not in what you do, but in the spirit behind it. Action born from control seeks domination. Action born from surrender seeks communion. This is why artists speak of being in the zone. Why musicians lose themselves in the melody. Why lovers feel timeless in each other's arms. These are glimpses of life unburdened by control, moments where being and doing become one. What's often pointed out that such moments are not exceptional. They are natural. What's unnatural is our constant interference, our habit of turning every experience into a problem to solve. In letting go, we rediscover something sacred, the immediacy of being. Every breath becomes a miracle again. The wind on your face feels like a gift. The smallest event, the way sunlight moves across the floor, the sound of rain against glass, carries a quiet poetry. You begin to sense that existence itself is enough, that it never needed your control to be beautiful. The philosopher Lao Tzu once wrote, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." That is the essence of the transformation what's described. The identity built on control, the planner, the achiever, the anxious guardian of outcomes, begins to dissolve, and in its place arises something softer, freer, more aware. You no longer live as a separate fragment trying to command life. You are life, expressing itself through your form. From this vantage point, suffering also changes shape. Pain no longer feels like punishment or failure, but as part of the flow, a wave within the larger ocean. You begin to sense that even the difficult moments carry their own intelligence, guiding you toward greater depth. Surrender doesn't erase pain, it gives it meaning. And with this shift comes compassion, not the sentimental kind, but a deep, resonant understanding that everyone is caught in the same struggle, trying to control what cannot be controlled, suffering under the weight of their own resistance. You see it in strangers, in loved ones, in yourself, the constant tightening, the fear of falling apart. And you realize we're all just waves forgetting we are the ocean. Surrender softens you, not into weakness, but into understanding. You become less reactive, more receptive. You begin to trust that even chaos has its role, that even endings have their grace. The more you stop fighting the current, the more life opens itself to you. Alan Watts called this trust, the faith of the universe in itself. It's the realization that the same intelligence that makes your heart beat and stars burn also moves through your every decision, your every breath. You don't need to command it, you only need to align with it. And when you do, something remarkable happens. The anxiety that once drove you begins to dissolve. You no longer chase life, you allow it. You no longer demand meaning. You discover it in the unfolding. Control collapses into participation. Fear transforms into curiosity. Effort gives way to ease. To live in this way is not to escape reality, but to enter it more fully, to feel its pulse, its texture, its rhythm. You are not standing apart from life, analyzing it from a distance. You are within it, breathing as part of its great exhalation. There's an ancient peace that rises when you realize you don't have to fight anymore. The river was never against you. The current was always carrying you home. There is a silence that follows surrender. Not the silence of emptiness, but of completion. It is the stillness of a wave that has found its rhythm, of a heart that no longer struggles against its own beat. In that silence, something becomes clear. We were never meant to master life. We were meant to meet it. Alan Watts often laughed when speaking about enlightenment. That easy, melodic laugh that seemed to carry both wisdom and mischief. He understood the cosmic joke at the heart of existence. That the very thing we've been striving for, peace, freedom, joy, was never something to be achieved. It was always here, quietly waiting beneath the noise of our resistance. The more we chased it, the farther it ran. The moment we stopped running, it turned to greet us. And perhaps that is why surrender feels so terrifying. To let go means to die before you die, to watch the illusion of control dissolve, and to see, with raw clarity, that you were never separate from the flow. That all your striving, your plans, your desperate efforts to secure the future were ripples on the surface of an ocean that has been carrying you all along. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "The secret of the greatest enjoyment of existence is to live dangerously." Watts would have agreed, but not in the sense of recklessness. To live dangerously, in his view, was to live without guarantees. To walk the tightrope of existence without a safety net, trusting that balance is not achieved by holding still, but by moving with the rope. That is the essence of true freedom. Not safety, but trust. Not control, but participation. In surrender, you begin to sense that everything, every joy, every loss, every uncertainty, is an expression of the same boundless intelligence. Life ceases to be a puzzle you must solve and becomes a mystery you can finally embrace. You realize that you do not live in the universe. You are the universe, momentarily aware of itself. And in that realization, fear loses its power. Death loses its finality. Time loses its tyranny. The future, once a looming storm of possibilities to manage, becomes something tender, a horizon that unfolds at its own pace, like dawn spreading across a quiet sea. To live in this state is not to float aimlessly, but to move with grace. You still plan, still act, still strive, but from a place of fluidity rather than fear. Your will becomes transparent, like a window through which the larger will of life shines. You no longer impose, you collaborate. You no longer grip, you hold lightly. What's often said that the meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so simple, he said. And yet, everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. To let go is to awaken to that simplicity. It is to see that life was never waiting for you to get it right. It was always inviting you to join the dance. You begin to move through the world with an ease that others might mistake for luck, when in truth it is alignment. You have stopped fighting the music. There is a subtle joy in this, not the sharp, fleeting joy of achievement, but the quiet joy of being. A joy that doesn't depend on conditions, because it arises from the simple fact of existence itself. You can feel it in ordinary moments. A breath of cold air, the hum of the city, the sound of laughter drifting through a window. Everything is alive with the same pulse, and you are part of it. This is the paradox of control. When you let go of trying to steer the river, you discover that you were the current all along. The self you tried to protect turns out to be the very illusion that kept you from tasting the fullness of life. And so, the final act of awakening is not conquest but surrender. A surrender so complete that it no longer feels like loss but revelation. You do not fall into chaos, you fall into being. You do not disappear. You dissolve into something vast and tender that has no name, yet feels more like home than anything you've ever known. In the end, Watts' laughter echoes softly, not as mockery, but as invitation. The joke was never cruel. It was compassionate. The cosmos was never against you. You were simply fighting its rhythm. And when you stop fighting, when you finally let go, the entire universe exhales with you. And in that breath, you realize the most liberating truth of all. You were never holding life. Life was always holding you. Silence follows. The lake is still. and for the first time it reflects everything.